If your kid plays soccer, football, or lacrosse, or any other field sport on artificial turf, their knee and their body is under a different kind of stress than it is when they play grass. And the data on ACL injuries back that up. Data shows that we are much more likely to suffer an ACL tear when playing on artificial turf relative to grass. And today in this video, I want to go into a little bit of why and the things that might be worth keeping in mind to make sure we can mitigate the risk as much as we can, because unfortunately, if we're here in the DC area, it's really tough to maintain a lot of these grass fields. So turf is a bit of a necessity. Now, let's talk about why. We have to think about first how the footwear that we're wearing really gets grabbed by the ground. So if we are playing on grass, there's a bit of that give where the cleat can actually move once the foot is planted in the ground. So if, for example, there's a twisting or torsional motion that goes into the leg and at the knee, well, there's a bit of give into the ground that can absorb some of that stress. But if we are on turf, that is held a lot more firm. So the ground isn't really giving us anything to be able to absorb that twist. So the twist goes right up and that torsion goes right up to the knee, increasing the risk of suffering those non-contact ACL injuries that we often see so commonly in soccer and football and lacrosse and those sorts of sports. So one of the things we can keep in mind is the kind of footwear that our athletes are wearing. So we should not be wearing cleats that are meant for grass when on turf. We should be wearing turf shoes, things like that, so that they don't get caught in the ground as easily. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that turf runs a heck of a lot hotter than grass does, right? On the surface, it can be a really big difference. And that's going to influence how fatigued an athlete gets. So a lot of times athletes will get fatigued much quicker on turf than they are on grass. And when we are fatigued, our mechanics may be off a little bit. We're much more likely to suffer an injury such as an ACL tear in those conditions. So what are some things that we need to keep in mind? Well, we can't do anything necessarily about the surface that we're playing on, but we can be mindful of the footwear that I mentioned earlier. And of course, we can be mindful of our training and our warming up. So warm-ups, they are non-negotiable, hopefully anytime, but especially if we're playing on a turf surface. So we need to be going through something such as a FIFA 11 if you're a soccer player, or making sure we're really being mindful of our training outside of the sport to make sure our mechanics are really on point, that we're strong, that we're powerful, that we have all the physical attributes to be able to protect ourselves. So if you are the parent of an athlete that plays a lot of their games on turf, there really is a lot less room for error, and we would love to be able to help you with some of those things that can be addressed. And if you're interested in that, contact us. You know where to find us.